Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues. I report on the track innovation, but innovation was actually like a red thread through the entire meeting we had here. So I am here to report to you that I have the answer to all of our problems. If. And there is unfortunately most often an if when one comes to the beautiful conclusion. So I have the answer to all the problem if innovation would just pop up when we are of need of it. What did the Beatles say or sing? Communication is the answer to the problem. Innovation is the solution to the problem. And this is what we are all convinced of. Now, innovation is a broad concept that is for some reason always comes up whenever we sense that something is wrong. It solves problems that we knew existed. And more importantly, it solves the problems we didn't know they existed. But unfortunately, the fact that innovation is a source of solutions does not mean that we know how to make it happen. We cannot delegate innovation as we could a simple task and expect it to magically occur. It is something that requires a do it yourself. It is this doing aspect of the definition of innovation that separates it from just inventing or having a good thought. For innovation to happen, we must realize that we rarely look for one single innovation event. Innovations are not born out of a single finding. Innovations unfold in a non-linear way from a scientific insight through development to product with many iterative loops. A thing, an institution, a process is doing something new only becomes an innovation because it satisfies existing or new needs. Innovation is dependent on the source of knowledge. Knowledge can come from both basic and applied sciences. It is stored in the brain of the people, in universities, research institutes, laboratories, industries, or in publications, in the internet we all heard about. To equate it to something that we are very familiar with in Switzerland, this knowledge is like the money in the bank. Without money, investments are not possible. So some tried somehow with with deleterious results. Money only gains real value when you let it work for you. Innovations are the investments of the scientific and technological discoveries. The more innovation created, the more value is gained from the knowledge, thus increasing the return on investment. Innovation investments can be everything from creating new technologies to fundamental scientific discoveries to new social or business practices. The value of knowledge and its relation to research and innovation was well described in one session by the idea that research is to transfer money into knowledge, and innovation is to transfer research into money. Both innovation and research are mutually dependent on each other. The continuous cycle spurs the evolution of society. But what we all really want to know is how can we influence the cycle of research and innovation? How do we grease the gears, so to say? We are all looking for ways to foster innovation, and it is one of the key things we all want to be able to take home from this STS story. Of course, the basic need for knowledge is clear. But when you get down to the meat, the issue becomes much more complex. How should knowledge be created? What fields should we focus on? How do you get the people to make innovation in the first place? Of real interest is how breakthroughs and new innovations do happen. The funding and the support structure do not physically make it happen. The doing comes from the persons. The most important action we can take is to foster the innovation state of mind. Or, with other words, the entrepreneurial spirit, the fearlessness to take risks, to swim against the current. The truly innovative and sometimes disruptive technology, the most radical breakthroughs in science, and the greatest changes in societies are rooted in unconventional thoughts. Does our educational system foster such an attitude? Risk must be seen as an inherent part of any development. One must expect failures and be able to deal with them creatively. Already at the primary school, children should learn to accept failures as part of the learning process and thus develop a healthy curiosity for new things. At the same time, the innovative spirit must be fostered. It is of equal importance to recognize that innovation, when it does happen, often the new ideas are missed just because they are new. Also, innovations can be sometimes untimely or supplied to the wrong customer or stakeholder. Developing countries have a particularly difficult task with this aspect. The innovation that is needed is often not needed by the more developed countries. Thus, there is a major lack in innovation appropriate to developing countries. And even within the developing countries themselves, the research that is being done is often determined by the mainstream in the world. This leads to the dilemma that 90% of the global research is done for 10% of the global population, with the clearest contrast in funding for diseases of the rich versus diseases of the poor. We in the developed countries must recognize the potential of the direction of innovation in developing or rapidly growing economies. If we want to strive towards a just world, we must take responsibilities to foster innovation that not only satisfies our own need, but supports what is needed in the developing world as well. Innovation is required for sustainable development to occur. It is a fundamental aspect of society, but we must cultivate it to the best of our ability. This requires new thinkings, integration, and communication. Most of all, we must recognize that the craziest ideas are the ones that lead to the most radical innovations and discoveries. Having an entrepreneurial spirit is often synonymous with having very unconventional ideas. Is it not so that the highest concentration of innovations are in areas with an exceptionally high concentration of avant-gardistic people? So, are innovations really the solution to our problems? Innovation is a people business. In a stimulating environment with creative people, we will make it, be the problem technological, institutional, or societal. The only thing we need is enough creative people. The task at hand is clear. Let's go home and do it. Thank you very much.